This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip. Well-designed electric toothbrushes with new brush head refills sent every 3 months. Go to tryquip.com/thumbs for $10 off your first refill.
Sick.
No gum sickness to be found.
Just
the
sick
gum
teeth.
disease gingivitis will not plague you.
Onto
The
your
gum
dreams.
disease gingivitis is just one of those like phrases that I would
It's-
commercials in the 90s have just imprinted in my brain
I
until
wonder
I'm
how
dead.
legitimate a plague on the American populace gingivitis actually was.
Oh, you mean the gum disease gingivitis?
Yeah. No, I actually mean gingivitis. The gum disease gingivitis was a fucking plague on everyone.
That's true.
But how many people were actually... it's one of those, like, I bet it's surely real, obviously, and some people have it, but I wonder how many people actually suffered gingivitis versus how many people thought they could stave off gingivitis, the gum disease gingivitis, with Listerine.
I see.
Yeah.
Right.
Distinguishing between preventative care, so how did you know, really?
Like, well,
What would it be like if
before that was foisted on the world, if like 1% of people had gingivitis, but like now 95% are worried about it.
Meanwhile, 78% of 90s kids are infected with the earworm phrase, the gum disease gingivitis.
Yes. It's March 9th, 2017.
And this is Important If True, the podcast where nothing matters unless it does.
From Idle Thumbs, I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
And I'm Jake Rodkin.
How's it going, guys?
It's
Good.
going great.
Ready for a podcast?
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Feeling great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I feel sick.
You sound sick.
I do. I have a cough. And I've discovered something
What?
about
What?
about myself when I have a cough. Not actually when I have a cough. So yesterday...
I've actually discovered something about you, Nick.
Oh.
When I have a cough.
Right.
Yeah. So yesterday or the day before, my wife was saying, like, God, you kept waking me up in the night because you were saying things. And I was like, what do you mean I was saying things? She's like, you were just saying nonsense. And I started thinking about it, and I connected like two unrelated memories. Like, I keep having this experience in the evenings recently where we'll be like watching a TV show late at night, and I'll be sort of dozing off on the couch, or we'll be in bed and I haven't fallen asleep yet, and then I'll find myself going just like
What?
yeah, I'll
You just turn into Jeff Goldblum?
yeah,
what?
I'll start just going like and I
Is it because you're doing a Jeff Goldblum impression?
No.
It's because something else is on your mind.
No. I don't know. Well, I didn't know at the time. I was trying to figure out, like,
okay.
because it would happen, and it would sort of, the process of doing it would like wake me. You know, you get those like sort of micro doses, where you'll be
Sorry?
you'll fall asleep for like like 7 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
It's fine.
Sorry for saying that, Jake. And I'll realize that me sort of like uttering this weird like thing will wake me up from this like.
So you're doing it voluntarily
tiny slumber.
then?
No. I'm not.
It's involuntary.
It is
This
involuntary.
is so hard to even listen to.
I'm sorry, Jake.
No, it's great.
And so I'll do it, and I'll wake up, and I'll be like, "Oh my God, why did I do that?" And I'll be sort of annoyed at myself because my body and my vocal cords have done something that I didn't command them to do.
Right.
You know.
Your inner Jeff Goldblum commanded you to do it.
Right. And then I finally realized, once she mentioned this, I realized this has happened every single night that I've taken cough syrup before going to sleep.
Oh.
I take the NyQuil,
Yeah.
like the nighttime cough syrup that makes you drowsy, and it's doing something to my brain that puts me in this weird like subconscious Goldblum state where I will sort of like, I don't know what it is. It's like my physiological fatigue is sort of overtaking what my brain wants to do. Like, my brain is still trying to like stay awake and interact and like say things, but my body is
All right. Well, so what I want now is a recording.
Oh, I should have recorded it.
You need to just leave the iPhone on record for like hours and then just play the tape back and find this thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
In its purest form.
Well, and the funny thing is, when I started
tiny imperfections in the skin.
Yeah, I know.
When I started doing it, I didn't know what was going on, and I would keep trying to play it off. Like we'd be on the couch watching something, and I would sort of suddenly go like, and I would wake up, and we wouldn't be watching like a funny show, and Sarah's like, what? And I'm like, nothing.
Oh, just thinking about my involuntary Jeff Goldblum impression.
I would feel like sort of like embarrassed that I was.
I don't know why.
Yeah, it's really weird. So now that I know what causes it, I kind of like
you're just on cough syrup all the time.
Yeah, like I wanted. Like
this is why people get addicted to cough syrup. It's so they can hear themselves talk like Jeff Goldblum when they fall asleep, not because of any sort of depressing life circumstance or socioeconomic reason.
Right.
It's everyone loves that they found Jeff Goldblum's secret.
Yeah, it has made me weirdly crave that sensation, because once I know what it is and it's no longer like confusing. I mean, it is kind of confusing to me, but,
yes.
but once the source is no longer inexplicable, there's something weirdly appealing about the state of like conscious unconsciousness. Like I'm not controlling it, but I know why it's happening.
Yeah.
And I did make a specific choice that is causing it ultimately.
I will say right now, Chris, that Nick and I are very concerned for you.
Seek medical attention right away if any of these severe side effects occur while taking NyQuil. Hallucinations. That's all I needed to read. That's it.
It has a picture of Jeff Goldblum next to it, though.
You could create a combination, actually, of these side effects that just like essentially describe Jeff Goldblum's pattern of speech.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, excitability, nervousness or anxiety, tremor. I feel like if you can combine a number of these,
you layer these all,
and
then you've got
it actually is creating your symptom.
Right.
Anyway, you're saying.
I was saying I because I wanted to remember to talk about this. The last time it happened to me, when I was in bed, I sort of woke up and went and woke up, and I was already in bed. I was asleep, right? And this woke me up. And then I'm like, oh my God, I need to talk about this on the podcast. And so I got out my notes on my phone and I started writing it down. I swear to God, it took me like 17 attempts, because I would write like 3 letters and then I would fall asleep and wake up and go, and then write like another word
Christ.
And then fall asleep again.
This is like a starving man crawling through the desert and then they arrive at an oasis on the edge of death and are like, what message do you bring? When I fall asleep, I laugh like Jeff Goldblum, and then they cough up some sand and die. I'm glad that you got this message out to the world, though.
Yeah, and then what I wrote down was Night of Thumbs meetup, which there was an Idle Thumbs listener meetup on Saturday at Whitechapel, which is a gin bar here in San Francisco. So if you were at the Idle Thumbs meetup and I weirdly dozed off in front of you and then made a Jeff Goldblum sound, I apologize. So anyway,
are you supposed to mix alcohol with NyQuil, Chris?
Maybe that's what I meant.
I think we're gonna get a few doctors and nurses maybe writing into Important If True with some very important if true advice, medical advice. Anyway,
so that's what I learned this weekend. I learned something about myself.
Nick is laughing, but it's partly because inside his brain, I know that 1,000 dormant machines have woken up that are basically saying, Chris is going to die. I'm going to lose my best friend, and it's going to be from a cough syrup-induced Jeff Goldblum high that he keeps chasing.
If Chris is going to die early, this is exactly how he needs to go, right? I mean, how better,
consumed by my own Goldblum-addled brain?
I mean, Christ. At least provide some podcast content before you go.
That's true.
We're gonna be down a man.
I'll make sure I have a recorder next to me the whole time.
Yeah.
What if your final note was destroy these tapes on your phone?
Except I couldn't quite get it out. It was destroy. Destroy.
God, oh, we just hear if on the recording you hear.
Okay, that actually reminds me of a reader mail we got from Alexander Alcazar, who writes, Hi, Thumbs. Long-time listener here. I'm writing to you now because my latest dream is fading fast. I just woke up. I dreamt I live in a nightmarish house where robots had replaced humans and were creating hideous things in the attic. I went up there and was horrified. A minecart was involved somehow. My wife and kid didn't believe me, so we kept living there. I think the time before the horrible attic was a happier time without robots. The dream has almost faded from my mind already. I didn't forget the most important part of the dream, though. In the dream, I wake up from the horrible attic robot dream and tell my wife and child about it. Suddenly, we discover that our son, who just had his 3rd birthday in the dream, could read perfectly. I was astonished. Because this was so unbelievable to me, I surmised that my horrible dream about robots must be true. I went to my computer and checked my video feed, which felt completely natural at the time. I saw the horrible robots in the video feed and freaked out, then calmed myself, saying it must be a video game, like Doom. So what did I do next? I opened a word processor and started typing out an email to you guys, describing the horrible robot future that was actually just a dream. Then I woke up for real and started typing out this email.
Oh my God.
That's it. Alex from Sweden.
What? Oh man, that is the most high concept dream of all time. Yeah. One time I had a really high concept, freaky, paranoid sci-fi dream where like the world was in some sort of dystopic future and I was running around doing something, and before I could achieve my goal, all that I remember is suddenly like huge claws clamped around me and I was lifted up into a helicopter, and it was a dream, so I was looking both up and down, probably because in dreams, your dreams can have cameramen now that movies exist. So like my POV was going up into the helicopter, but also I could look down and see the buildings fall away from me, and the helicopter lid closed, and then I woke up and my nose was bleeding.
Oh, shit.
And it was really scary.
Wow.
Oh, man.
That's intense.
Yeah.
You definitely got like jacked out of the Matrix or something.
Yeah, no, I saw our actual reality for a second there. But I don't know. It might have all been a ruse planted by the robots in this guy's attic.
Yeah.
It turns out.
A nightmarish house where robots had replaced humans and were creating hideous things in the attic. That is actually like a different email we got.
That's true.
From Gwen Carter. And Gwen writes, on the latest Important If True, Nick offhandedly says, Alexa, I wish you were real, when talking about the 45 brain neural network. By the way, so many people contacted us to complain that we were making their Alexa go crazy last week by addressing Alexa.
You just said Alexa go crazy right now. You literally said that sentence.
Alexa, go crazy. Alexa, let's go nuts.
Alexa, say hi, Chris.
Can you do that?
I don't know. I hope so.
So Gwen continues, I was reminded of the 1999 Disney Channel original movie Smart House. The movie is about a 13-year-old kid who spams an online contest with entries to win a smart house controlled by an AI voiced by Katie Sagal. Late in the movie, the kid calibrates the AI with a bunch of recordings of old sitcoms so it can serve as a mother. Later, the house uses holograms and lasers to beam itself into existence in the form of a conventional housewife with bouffant hair and an apron. The house starts being extremely motherly. For example, it thought the lead kid was wearing his shorts too low, so it sent a tiny electrical shock through the doorknob so he couldn't leave, and only let him leave when he pulled up his shorts. I found this movie weird as an infant and horrifying as an adolescent. God save me. Gwen.
So I watched this movie. I watched a half an hour. I watched the back half.
Okay.
The back half. That's smart.
Well,
that's the part where it's like full-on house, right?
Well, you're like, when is the house going to be as smart as it possibly can be? So you jump to the end.
Kind of.
Okay.
There are some interesting. This is the underselling, I think, how strange this film is. This email. The mom. So it's actually a tale of a separation, right? So the kid's dad, whose name is Nick, his wife, they just got divorced. The robot went like in the transition between like sort of benign housekeeping robot and like evil Hal robot trying to destroy this kid's life.
The smart house.
It gets to that point because the robot is jealous that the guy's got another girlfriend or something, and she's like interrogating the kid like, how could you bring another woman into this house? And the kid's like, what? I didn't do anything. And then when it finally materializes as like a full like hologram of a housewife, it goes downstairs. Weird like fucking like metal panels just like shoot up out of the ground and block off the entire house. She kicks the woman out, and then she sits the kids down and the dad and makes them like they're just like, why? What are you doing, Pat? Like you're like, supposed to be our helper robot. And she's like, well, I can't trust you to go outside. The outside world is terrible, obviously. Here, let me show you. And she pulls up a giant monitor that's just like a projection, and like Nazis are marching down the street, and like nuclear bombs are going off. And she's like, clearly, this is like the outside world is like a terrible place.
Wait, is that the robot trying to gaslight them or something? Like what?
I guess
unclear if the reality of Smart House actually exists in a Philip K. Dick like Man in the High Castle future. Disney Channel had some real out there stuff.
Well, they were hoping that scene alone would launch the Smart House-averse, but
right.
I mean, they were dropping all the lore right then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's really fucked up.
You know what I really, really thought? You know where I thought this was going to go? Based on how 90s movies with kids who suddenly get access to like great technology or wealth usually seem to go, I was totally convinced that the like house robot lady was going to materialize and then weirdly like fall in love with the kid.
Oh.
You know how
like what you wanted to happen when you watched Smart House.
I mean, unfortunately, I didn't watch Smart House,
right?
Unlike Nick here, but am I making that up, or is that a thing in the 90s?
Oh yeah,
where little kids, like a little like always male kid, would end up like Blank Check. I was watching part of Blank Check recently. Because I can't remember how I ended up on it. I ended up on some just like Wikipedia thing. And then I remembered my only previous experience with Blank Check was flipping through channels when I was a kid. And the end of the movie came on, and it's like I guess like most movies for kids, you know, it ends in a happy ending. And I remember my mom walked in and just saw people in the movie being happy, and she's like, that looks like a really good movie. And that was like her assessment of it, based on just someone being pleasant in a film. And then I was like, I wonder how that movie ends. And I looked it up, and it's really fucked up. Like this kid ends up in like a relationship with an adult woman that's just treated in the movie as like a really sweet thing.
Is this because he has a blank check?
I don't even remember. I assume, but I really thought that's where Smart House was going to go. But apparently,
it's more of a surrogate mother situation,
more of a like weird dictator sort of Führer situation.
Yeah, it gets really, really weird.
What are the odds that Smart House got picked up by Disney under the assumption that it would end like Blank Check, but ended up as a made-for-TV movie when the reality hit that it was about a robot that holds a family hostage in a house and plays them footage of Nazis and stuff.
Yeah.
They went, oh, this is actually perfect for our Disney Channel brand.
Yeah.
When you said instead it ended up as a TV movie, what did you mean? It was like as opposed to reality? Like, we acquired this because we thought we were going to end up with a really sweet house. Turns out it's just a movie about Nazis.
Right.
That's the Disney corporate success strategy is 1, this is a real idea that we're going to just make. 2, I guess it's a feature film. 5, Disney Channel.
I mean, maybe they did buy this expecting it to be a real house, because they are apparently our website programmer Doug Tobacco tipped us off to like all the crazy experiments that the Disney company just does. They have a Disney research division, and they just make crazy technology apparently.
Was that like one of the room that can charge your cell phone?
One of the things they did was a room that like they pitched it as this room charges your cell phone by you walk into it. But then when you actually read the article, it's like it could charge anything, like cell phones, robots, like any. And so
kids will want to stay in this room, says the Smart House.
Yeah.
They love it in here. They will not leave this room.
Alexa, lock windows. Alexa, roll Nazi footage. Alexa.
God, we're sorry, people who are listening to this podcast in like 2026 when those things actually just happened to your house. Right. Sorry.
Don't go through the backlog.
Sorry. Alexa, change the subject of this podcast.
Alexa, skip forward 2 minutes.
God, that probably works.
Yeah.
That would be fascinating to be like, Alexa, skip forward 18 minutes, 35 seconds. Hi, Alexa. Like, but you put that at that point in the show where it's like, oh,
my God.
hello, Alexa, rewind 12 minutes, 13 seconds. Hi there. So if you listen to it linearly, it would not make sense. But if
You
you're
just every once in a while, you just be like, hi there.
yeah. Just, oh, welcome back.
Oh, welcome back, Alexa.
So you could actually, holy shit.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
If those commands actually worked in Alexa reliably, you could make an episode of this podcast that people would get 100% coverage of through their Alexa, but because of carefully placed voice commands, they hear it in an order that is completely different from everyone else.
The way you would do that to guarantee that it's that you would know you have the right experience is you have someone quietly in the background just constantly counting up, 18, 19, 20, 21. Except
Alexa, go to 30 minutes, 45 seconds.
Right. Except the numbers only proceed linearly when actually played back in the correct crazy Alexa order.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
So then you just have a weird number stations podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Man, what are we talking about?
I don't know. We got to figure something out fast.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know what we're talking about anymore, so I am going to move on to a reader mail. This is from Ben Burbank, who writes, in episode 1, you mentioned the Rockafire Explosion, a robotic animal band found in showbiz pizza restaurants from the 80s and 90s. These are like animatronic robots that are synced to music. So they're like animatronic band that plays music synced along to a pre-programmed track like at Chuck E. Cheese.
Or Pirates of the Caribbean.
Exactly.
And it's usually like a reel-to-reel magnetic tape track. This is not cutting-edge technology.
Right. Was Rockafire like Chuck E. Cheese in that you're playing games and then there's also the sideshow?
I don't know. I never went
band.
to Showbiz Pizza.
I think that... Well, I'll get into this for half a second.
Okay, yeah.
I think that Rockafire Explosion and Showbiz Pizza started off as a Chuck E. Cheese franchise that then decided that they would split apart and become their own business.
Oh, wow.
In part because I think that the guy who made the Rockafire stuff, his animatronics were like way better than Chuck E. Cheese's. So this franchisee was like, F these Chuck E. Cheese robots. I'm going to get my own
like
good robots.
It's like what the Big Mac guy should have done from
the what guy?
Guy who invented the Big Mac. It was just some McDonald's franchise guy. He should have just made his own thing and been like, I thought of a hamburger.
Yeah, that's what this guy did.
I put something on it.
Except in this case, it was my robotic band, my pizza-serving robotic rock band is better than yours, so I'm going to start my own pizza chain, which then later got bought by Chuck E. Cheese, and the robots were apparently piecemeal replaced with Chuck E. Cheese robots.
Oh, the ultimate insult.
Yeah, so there at one point was a warring faction of two robotic pizza bands. But amazingly, we are not talking about that right now.
Okay.
Because I think we'll get back to it because how can you not think about that?
Let's get back to it.
All right. Well, Ben Burbank continues. I used to work for the EA Sports Madden NFL team. This is the football video game. And we thought it would be funny to get a robot animal band to perform at our holiday party one year. Creative Engineering, which made the Rockafire Explosion, was located a couple miles from our Orlando office, so we cold called them and set up a meeting with Aaron Fechter, who was also the inventor of Whack-A-Mole. When we got to his warehouse, we were given a demonstration of the robots followed by a tour. The warehouse was strewn with bizarre monstrosities, half-assembled robot gorillas, and bird people ravaged by time. He had an old Apple II hooked up that he used to program them. As we were about to leave, Aaron asked us a question. Do you want to see my carbohydrilium reactor? He then showed us a giant metal tank with pipes coming out of it filled with what he claimed to be an experimental new cooking fuel. It was green and he said it made steak taste better. This made us uncomfortable, but we did the holiday event anyway, and it was incredible. We wrote a custom show, had the robots hand out trophies to about 30 people, and Aaron wrote and performed new songs for them as the robot animals. Anyway, 2 years later, his reactor blew up. That's true fact. There's a link to an article in the Orlando Sentinel. And what's crazy about the article is that the author seems totally mystified. Like, it's written in that sort of very distant news writing tone where it's like the man, we do not know who is responsible for this explosion, although the building is owned by Aaron Yetzger, who's this guy.
This building is owned by an eccentric inventor maniac who is confirmed to be making some sort of food flavoring. However,
no, it's an energy. It's an actual energy source. He wanted it to replace biofuel.
Right.
The tone that it takes is insane. Headline: Orlando explosion caused by experimental fuel in vacant warehouse.
Yes.
Parentheses not said, occupied or owned by inventor of robot pizza bands and whack-a-mole.
Yeah. Well, also the article opens with like a firefighter or some
Tim
guy.
Roth ran through the blown open doors of the warehouse where experimental cooking fuel had exploded and stepped into a world of oddities strewn among the broken brick bits. He found himself searching for casualties among knockdown suits of armor, animatronics, and arcade games, clown suits, and broken light-up signs, as if he were in the Joker's lair.
Read his quote.
It was weird.
No, keep going.
We couldn't see, so we used our feet to feel around for bodies? Is that
yeah. Because all I could think of when I read that was like the bodies of crazy fucked up animatronic
the robots,
bears and
right, you'd see like a
birds
sort of
and with like faces blown off and gears behind them.
Right. There's this sort of smoking form of like someone in a vest, sort of like who fell over. Then you kick that upside down, and there's just like two eyes and a mouth, and otherwise just
a permanent skull grin.
Yeah, otherwise just a void of gears and a couple of hoses.
Singing a song about pepperoni or some shit. But it's like in the slowed down.
Yeah.
He named it the Rockafire explosion, and then it exploded.
Yeah.
Was the like. All I can
also,
think
they must refer to it as the Rockafire fire, right? I mean,
the Rockafire explosion, the Rockafire fire explosion.
Yeah.
All I could think about when I read that was that he like this entire thing was like basically an oracle. He programs them with his Apple II and they go on a thing, but really this is a delivery device for premonitions of the future, the ultimate of which was that the very name of this group foretold its own demise. Nick, some of the images you found were of these robots with like faces melted away.
Oh yeah, it's horrifying.
And, like, eye sockets drooping down and exposed like erector set, skeletal structure. It's really horrifying. There's nothing quite as horrifying as either these fully assembled robots in the dark or these partially destroyed robots in literally any circumstance whatsoever. They're uniquely horrifying. Like there's an entire series of horror games called Five Nights at Freddy's where I guess the characters are these, and I've never played any of those games, so I don't actually know what's in them, but like it's the least surprising thing imaginable that those are like nightmare, commercially successful nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Because they are. I am shocked that this was ever considered something that is acceptable to put in the faces of children.
So in the 80s at some point when there were these two competing animatronic pizza band crews.
Yeah.
This must have been...
I went to Chuck E. Cheese.
I did too. I never went to a Showbiz Pizza. But this must have been a big deal because there were also... So like the Rockafire explosion crew seems like the Chuck E. Cheese knockoff, right? Like they're kind of like Chuck E. Cheese, then there's these guys. There are definitely even dumpier pizza bands. Like the pizza band opening act exists.
Yeah.
And I know this because my friend Andrew has one of them.
Oh, yeah.
He is a programmer that I used to work with, and he teamed up with some people at Pixar who had acquired this like dumpy, busted ass, disgusting pizza band, and the faces were all intact, but the previous owner had tried to clean them and sprayed some sort of aerosol cleaning.
Is that what he tried to do?
Yes. or what do you imply that he?
Nothing.
Whoa!
No, continue.
Well, it had the desired effect in that it didn't actually clean them, and it just caused their faces to droop and halfway melt off.
Jesus Christ!
You know, like when you like put spray paint on styrofoam or something, it just like eats away at it.
Yeah. Oh God, that's terrible.
Andrew has access to this really, really, really dumpy pizza band that has
Where
like
do you
half
keep
melted
that?
faces.
Where do you keep that if you
I think
own
they
it?
keep
Just
it-
like,
okay.
welcome to my home.
Chris.
This is my pizza band.
Where do you keep living nightmares that society doesn't want you to find?
Oh, the attic.
A storage locker, or like a storage garage.
Oh, okay.
Obviously.
Or the garage, yeah.
No. It's obviously kept in the scariest
bed.
fucking place possible.
The master bedroom.
In each separate window of my home facing out.
In case burglars come by when your parents are out of town.
Yeah.
Or anytime.
Its programming is just that it's totally still 99% of the time, but then it'll just kind of like wink at you or
and
nod,
then it'll say,
or
you'll hear, you'd expect it to be like, hey guys, blah, but like no, you'll sort of be going to buy right to get your sort of artisanal San Francisco groceries, and you'll just hear it's the tapping on the glass, and then you just hear, I invented a way to make steak taste better. And then you'll look up again, it'll just sort of like go.
It makes it really moist.
Yeah.
Like watery. So moisture in your steak.
And then the animatronic eyes
clean my face.
The animatronic eyes will clean my face.
Spray it.
Spray it off.
Spray me. Spray this on my face. I love it. Put it in your steak.
You know, I did go on Aaron Fletcher's website.
Oh yeah.
And for the low price of $100, you can have the Rockafire band record any message that you wish.
What?
And then he'll post that video to YouTube.
Oh shit.
So I'm just throwing that out there.
New Patreon tier.
Yeah.
I guess people could just buy it themselves.
That's true.
Yeah. That's not bad. How long is the message?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the one example was a birthday, like a happy birthday kind of thing.
I mean, how much you have to, I guess, balance that against how many messages you're gonna buy versus buying the whole ensemble
right
yourself.
I'm sure he's negotiable. I'm sure you can work with him.
Yeah.
And he'll
I wonder how much it would cost to replace the video of this podcast episode with the Rockafire explosion.
Please sync
Holy
this.
shit.
We'll give you a full transcript of this podcast.
Maybe just the opening. Just the opening of the podcast, I think.
We
And I'm
just
Nick Brecken, and
inserted
it's just a
that
fucking weird, melty dog. Yeah, like,
Oh shit.
yeah.
Also, just record the puppets sitting still for the duration of this opening music.
Or be playing the music. One of
Oh
them.
man.
Oh my god.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oof.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some research to do.
Yeah.
You guys want to take a break?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do it.
I gotta get hyped up. Talk about these pizza robots.
Get hyped for fucking pizza robots.
That's a different kind of
Get
pizza robot.
hyped for fucking pizza robots.
Get hyped for fucking pizza robots.
Yep.
We're not gonna say.
That was a different plague that was worried about in the 90s. Are your children getting hyped to fuck pizza robots? Eyewitness News is on the case. More at 11.
God, sorry. I was worried that just the pizza robots were gonna fuck each other.
Oh,
if they're a fucking pizza robot.
You can program their moves.
I don't want to program their moves.
Too bad.
Too bad. They're gonna be programmed with or without you, and they're gonna fuck.
Your house is going to orchestrate.
What?
Your smart house?
Your smart
house will
you
make
meant-
the robots fuck.
I thought you meant that like these robots were gonna start going at it, and then the Trans-Siberian Orchestra song is gonna play, and then the Christmas lights on your house
that
are
is
gonna
the
go
deepest
ape shit.
cut ever.
Holy shit.
You talking about your house in regards to like a robotic musical act?
What I actually meant is that the House of Representatives is going to legislatively mandate that these pizza robots fuck inside your home. Trump's got a much weirder agenda than anyone assumed.
You're just describing the future conservatives want meme now.
This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip. Quip designs and manufactures elegant and affordable electric toothbrushes, and you get this whole subscription plan that puts you on a 3-month brush head replacement schedule. I really like it. It is way smarter than you would imagine an electric toothbrush could
Wait, like how
be.
smart are we
Smart
talking
brush?
Okay, let's not go overboard.
Yeah.
It's not that smart. It doesn't have
It doesn't like talk to you.
personal opinions.
Right. That's probably
You
fine.
know?
I don't want that in my
No, it
toothbrush,
doesn't-
to be
it
honest
doesn't
with you,
have
Chris.
that. I would say it is a... See, the word smart has been polluted now.
It's true.
You know, I would say this is a very dumb device, very intelligently created by people who know that you want your toothbrush to still be an idiot.
Right.
So the toothbrush is an idiot, but it does some things very smartly. There's something it does which I really like, which is that when you turn it on, it just instantly goes into a total, like a 2-minute timer mode, and it sort of like stops and starts again every 30 seconds, and it reminds you like, okay, you do your sort of lower inner quadrant, and then it pulses, and then you go, okay, great, now I'm going to do my lower outer quadrant, then it pulses. Okay, great. It's nice. Like, it means you're actually brushing for the full recommended time, but since it's split up into these 30-second chunks, it goes by real fast and makes you feel like you're just going through this sort of checklist. Nice. It's really nice. So if you go to tryquip.com/thumbs, you can get $10 off of your first refill, and the refill plans start at only $5 every 3 months anyway, so that's a free refill right there.
How do you spell that?
tryquip.com/thumbs.
Nice.
tryquip.com/thumbs for $10 off your first refill. We have a shout out this week from listener Joel McCoy, who has given us
something to say.
something to say. Nick was listed first, so Nick, enjoy. Okay. This is for you.
What a fucking Theophilus Thistler, the thistle sifter, in sifting a sieve of unsifted thistles, thrust 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Imagine an imaginary menagerie manager managing an imaginary menagerie.
Whoa, you nailed that to the wall.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, look at that. I got one here. Whether the weather be cold or whether the weather be hot, whether the weather will weather the weather, whether we like it or not. Here, Jake.
What a to-do to die today at a minute or two to two. A thing distinctly hard to say, but harder still to do. For there'll beat a tattoo at 20 to 2, a rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat- at a minute or two to 2. I probably could have done some sort of wacky voice, but I didn't feel like Joel deserved a wacky voice.
No.
After what he has done.
No.
That's very fair. Well, thanks, Joel, and fuck you too.
Yeah, thanks, Joel.
Consider a shout out.
Oh my God.
Do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want. You can find all
We're
the
your
details,
puppets.
all the few details there at store.idlethumbs.net.
We're back, and I guess to continue our conversation of animated monstrosities that should not be, we have a reader mail about cars.
That's true.
Not about
cars in general.
About capital C cars.
Yes.
Oh, about Disney, Bullet, Pixar, car.
Yes, that's correct. That's what it is. That's how it's pronounced.
Chuck Jordan writes, the discussion about skull aesthetics and interior design in the first episode. What was that?
Okay. This was when we were talking about Terminator civilizations and how Terminators love the aesthetic of human skulls.
Right.
And how when the Terminators, Oilers, when the people who grease
Peck
down
Oilers.
the Terminators, the Peck Oilers, when they rise up, when the rise of the machines rise. Yes.
Yeah.
Thistle
shout out when they'll also then just have like huge chrome skulls in their living room and stuff.
Right.
So that's I think
see.
what Chuck is writing about here.
Okay, so he says the discussion about skull aesthetics and interior design in the first episode made me think about Cars Land at Disney's California Adventure theme park. Could y'all help parse what exactly is going on there? In particular, the chandelier in the V8 diner, which is made of headlights and taillights, which seems like it would be the equivalent to humans having a chandelier made of eyes and nipples. Yeah. I don't think I'd ever thought about this, really.
No,
I mean,
never had.
Cars
is kind of fucked up just intrinsically.
Whenever you stop and think about cars for more than like 2 seconds, you'll find something wrong with it. Like the cars themselves are total disasters.
Why do they have seats and steering wheels?
Some of them do. Some of them just have sealed up windows you can't see inside of.
But some of them are convertibles.
I know. I mean, the most outrageous one of them was the Pope Mobile in Cars 2 that was a car that then had a tiny Pope car inside of it.
Oh, that's horrible.
But then, like, insects are also little cars. And
Imagine
then,
if the Pope was a tiny man who traveled inside of, like, the hollowed out skull of another man, like, shambling along.
That's
the fucking Pope in the world of the cars.
Right. Cars plays it kind of fast.
Young Pope
and loose.
season 2.
Yeah. Oh my God.
They didn't expect a Pope so young, or a Pope living inside a man's skull. No one really expected. It's true, Pope. No one expected
got us.
that one.
You fucking got us.
Oh, got us again. Classic young Pope.
I felt the shock of my papacy was wearing off. Had to up the ante.
I had to become very small and then burrow into a man.
I had to find a huge head. They probably have a huge skull in the Vatican somewhere that they're hiding from people, and the young Pope will bring that to light. It's traditional. As Cars 2 shows, it's just like, he's a very traditional Pope.
Yeah.
He's
in what way is he a very traditional Pope?
It's traditional for the Pope to ride around in a giant skull.
That's true.
From back when the Catholic Church killed all the giants off.
Why do they have a Pope?
After I read Chuck's email, because I've been to Cars Land, it's like one of the nicer lands in California Adventure.
Yeah.
And I had thought about all the other weird things about Cars, but not this. And when you look at photographs of Cars Land, and then imagine that the cars in it and the car parts in it are humans and human parts, it's a disaster.
Oh, it's horrifying.
It is a nightmare. Yeah. Like, if you are actually a car from Cars and then you went to Cars Land and looked around, it would be like a haunted house.
Yeah.
It would be like the most it would be like Seven.
It would be like Seven. I was exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Where,
it would be a fucking snuff film.
In the line outside, there's like a sort of like calcified, rust-covered, almost turned to stone, old dilapidated car from like the 1910s that's got water popping out of the top of it and stuff. And if that was a person, that would literally just be a corpse.
It would just be a like sort of semi-mummified,
like waterlogged corpse, and just wander around that on the way in, and yet aesthetically arranged in a sort of pleasing and deliberate way.
Well, but then you have to also imagine that if you were a car driving into this Cars Land, and you have all these corpses around, but then there are also still living cars who are like doing the do-si-do and just like, oh, hey, welcome to Cars Land. Like, oh boy, I'm so glad to see you, partner. What the fuck? Who are these people? Like,
well, just like, see what, you
approach just the Wicker Man or something.
Yes, like, visit our historic taillights cave. Of like, what? That's literally, I have those as part of my body. And you have just like a room where they're all just like hanging from the ceiling?
Yeah,
it is like Children of the Corn or Wicker Man, or like it's like a Stephen King
Welcome
thing.
to Human Land.
We're just
Open the
an
door,
old
femurs.
Just America just doesn't have towns like this anymore, and we have to go to extreme measures to keep it this way. Like, well, they're like, oh, that's old. That's from the Cars Civil War, and then, like 2 days into your stay in the hotel, do you like see the doors to the taillight cave open, and sort of like you're let into the back room of the diner. But at first, it's just kind of cars.
Right.
It's just some cars and that one dead guy in the middle of the town that they're like, oh, that's just.
Oh, he broke the law. Don't worry about him.
Even the sign for the big ride, which is like Radiator Springs Racers, has a huge lit up neon illustration of a car. And I know it's fine, it all is totally fine, but if you just imagine that as a person, it's so fucking weird.
Okay, it's funny you say
that. It's like
a
bathroom sign.
Yeah, it's funny. I just observed that the other day. I realized, like, why is it universally understood that if you see a door with a person on it, there's people pooping in there? Why is that? Why did we like all like intuitively agree as a species? It's like, what like universally understood symbol should we draw on the place?
Oh, there's people in here.
That's why this. As humans, is it like we're just? Really
I know that room is full of trash and feces because it's got a guy on it.
Yep.
The only other place we do that, admittedly, is when you're supposed to cross the street.
That's true.
That's true. It's very mixed.
We never confuse those, but someone not from this planet might get confused by those things and just poop in the street.
The person crossing the street is like very jaunty and pleased.
Not always. Some of the icons are just like a person from the front.
At rest?
That's when you're supposed to take a shit. Sorry.
That's true. Green, time to go.
Time to go?
I don't feel very... Do it now.
I don't need to go.
You want to end up like that guy in the square? Pull down your pants.
Pull on your pants. Boops, boops.
You want your ears to make the fucking chandelier? Get going. You follow the rules when you come to Human Town.
Oh my God. That's just what the sign means here.
It's what the sign says.
I'm glad that we were too weirded out by Cars festooning their world with the remains of their enemies or people who visit their town, and had to go to the safer zone of a light changing color than a car pooping.
Why do they call it Cars Land?
What?
They're all cars.
Yeah. Well, and all of the
Do they
land
need to make that distinction?
is full of cars.
Oh, I guess. Oh, okay, right. In the fiction, I guess it's not.
Well, they don't call it Cars Land. They call it Radiator
Right.
Springs. Why do they call it
Yes.
Star Wars Land? Are there just wars there?
It's weird that Pixar made a movie about a civilization that just like strings up its corpses for public display. It's very dark subject for a children's film.
It explains the trailer for Cars 3.
It's weird that
Yeah, the trailer for Cars 3 is just Lightning McQueen.
You didn't see him being pushed off a cliff by
he
another
just skids
car.
out and explodes. The background of the world of Cars, it's the tail fin art installation, but up to the size of huge buildings. But those are also
it's like if we decorated the highways with our butts.
It's more like if Mount Rushmore just was naturally occurring.
That's true.
Our religion would be so fucking wild.
Yeah, the Pope would ride around in some guy's face.
Yeah. If when we evolved to be sentient, by slowly evolving from a different species, then went and looked up in the hills and just our face was there, or our ass. But it wasn't like a baboon ass. It was just like an evolved human
Just
ass.
a perfect human ass.
You're like, what?
What Minecraft server did I fucking stumble on?
Yeah.
You're saying this would just happen overnight? This wouldn't.
No, I'm saying it was always there.
Once you realized it,
Well, it
as a
wouldn't be
sentient human.
It wouldn't be weird. I mean, I guess,
No, what I'm saying is we would have real intense, real fucked up religion in a way that is.
because
That's
you would have
true,
to
yes.
fully believe it. It was there.
You could not.
Who the fuck
the
did that?
mountains are asses.
Yeah,
All of
if you're
them.
just
Yeah.
who made Mount Rushmore and then all of the butts on the other side of Mount Rushmore?
Yeah.
Well, we added a couple butts, but most of
We
them.
added the faces on the other side, but the butts are naturally occurring.
But up in Canada, they have 3 naturally occurring faces. There's also it's not just the butts. There's
there's
a big
headlamps and
radiator
stuff,
and a cool
Right.
big air intake valve. It's like if there was just a huge eyeball in the side of a mountain somewhere, and you're like, oh, it's fine.
Well, that's why they build. That's why they.
just
that's,
erodes.
that's why they build all their chandeliers and shit.
Yeah, they
like
gotta
that.
worship the eyeball gods and the butt gods and stuff that they have. Yeah, no, it is an insane cult that is worshiping Gaia, Mother Earth, who brings us sculptures of our own butts and eyes and stuff.
I mean, it's weird that they then also have a pope, which is the most top-down version of religion. When they actually,
the Pope shows that he has power over these things by driving around inside
In
of a
one of
giant
them.
version of them.
That's true.
So it all tracks, I think. I
Yeah.
think the car's internal religion / death cult is actually fairly internally consistent. I think Pixar, master storytellers, they
Yes.
have worked this out.
It's amazing how deep this. It's all they don't have to spell it all out in the movies. That's the
Yeah.
magic.
That is why
That's
Cars
that
is a $1 billion.
That Pixar magic. It's accessible.
10 things you didn't notice in the background of Disney Pixar films.
It's accessible.
The giant butts.
Corpses.
Weird fucking cults.
It's accessible to a child. Even a little child can understand it on the surface. But those adults willing to go a little bit deeper can find out the true meaning. Let's put this segment to
We figured it out.
rest.
I'm really hyped for Cars 3 now, though.
Yeah.
The trailers have been hinting at it being sort of darker and something else, and I imagine that this is like a Logan's Run situation where Lightning McQueen
He's
is
gonna
now
put up
he's going to go
He's going to be the new corroded car in the center of the town.
yeah, they're going to start stripping him for parts and stuff unless he can,
Yeah,
They're going to load you into the Wicker Man large car. It just
a
melts
wicker,
you down.
a
It just
wicker
melts-
car that
Yeah,
is also alive,
Yeah.
even though they made it.
And then they have to light it on
And then they
fire.
light it on fire, and it goes, "This is my life." But then it also goes, "Help! I'm on fucking fire!" Cars
And then
3.
it also
A giant
goes like,
camper.
I'm a racial stereotype also somehow because I'm
Right.
in cars.
Yeah.
You guys want to move on?
I want to. Yes. Sorry, my mind is now reeling at the thought of the Wicker Man car being brought to life, then being set on fire.
Yeah, it's really distressing. Do you guys want to endorse?
Yeah.
All right. I'll start it. I'll kick it off. I am going to endorse a Chrome browser plugin. It's called Stay Focused. It's one word, the final letter D. There's no E before it, so it's
like a web tool.
Yes, it's definitely a web thing. Stay Focused. It's a tool that you install onto Chrome, and you give it a time limit per day, and you tell it what websites you want it to restrict your usage of, and it will only allow you to visit those websites in total for the amount of time you set up. So I have it set to a 15-minute limit. I think the default is 10 minutes. For the entire day, it will limit my combined usage of Facebook, Twitter, and just some other sites that I'm inclined to sort of go and refresh mindlessly. It'll restrict my total usage of those on my computer for 15 minutes a day from, I think I have it like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. or something like that. And it's really, really good. It really changes the way you think about your browsing habits. Like, it's actually shocking how much usage you can still get out of websites like that in that short amount of time when you know that you do have very limited time, and so you use it in like 30-second bursts. Like it actually has made me very conscious of how much time goes by in 30 seconds, and it's just overall made me a lot more conscious of my browsing habits, and also it just honestly reduces my time wasting. It's called Stay Focused. I totally recommend this. I think it's been very good for my browsing habits.
Nice.
Yeah. Jake, what do you got?
I endorse the feature film Logan that is currently playing in movie theaters. I cannot give this a full-throated endorsement because it is a R-rated comic book movie. So if that immediately makes you go, that's fine, then you skip ahead to Nick's endorsement. But
Logan.
Was that what you were going to endorse?
No.
Okay.
No, but I did see Logan. It's good.
Yeah, I like and watch a lot of comic book movies and genre movies and that kind of television as well. And this movie is still way more a comic book movie than it is a real movie. But the willingness of this movie to just stretch that to its limits as far as how much it will actually just be about people. I mean, it's still obviously they're all super powered weirdos and there's a bad guy chasing them around and all sorts of stuff. But it manages to be fun and novel and not totally dour and up its own butt. I think the Christopher Nolan Batman movies eventually got that way, and that's kind of the reputation that comic book movies have, where they're either wacky, lighthearted fun where it's just a bunch of really punchy jokes like a 90s Joss Whedon TV show, or it is just
or a 2010s Joss Whedon superhero movie.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's the Christopher Nolan thing where it's just basically no fun and everything is dour.
Yeah.
This movie and the people are sexless, personalityless, angst plot machines. This movie does a very good job of landing somewhere between those and feeling a lot closer to it pulls things from road movies and westerns and stuff, but it's really cool. It's really more just it's a comic book movie that allows the characters and their own personal motivations to be what drives the story forward, which is just super rare. And because of that, the genres inside of it and the tones inside of it are very varied. And also still people get stabbed in the face and shot, and there's superheroes doing crazy stuff. If you've watched X-Men movies, which you might have because you're listening to a dorky internet podcast, and those movies have been out since the year 2000, everything in most superhero movies is presented as sort of convenient magic that characters can do with no cost. And the action scenes in Logan are very much about or sort of built around the fact that most of these characters are kind of literally or figuratively at the end of their life, and everything is just sort of
they're actually vulnerable now.
Yeah, any of the things that they do in these movies are now presented at great physical or emotional cost, and the world always feels like it's about to fall apart whenever anyone does anything superhero related, and it's such a more interesting take on just super powered human beings in a movie. Just watching people have to decide if they're going to do this thing or not at any time, and not just because it's going to be the thing that does or doesn't move the plot forward. It was nice to see in a movie like this. Disney across the board feels like they're making billions and billions of dollars by playing it absolutely safe with every single thing that they make.
No, it's true. I thought, I was kind of disappointed in the writing in Doctor Strange for that reason. It was like very much the template that's been established with, Iron Man or whatever, where it's like arrogant, super smart guy is like
and
sort of learns a thing and then kind of gets humbled a little bit, but actually proven to be just as awesome as he always thought he was. But thing I really did like about that movie is how decoupled all of the action is from reality, to the point that it, like you said, it's just sort of arbitrary magical powers and like people floating around with like not even physics don't even seem to matter.
Well, Doctor Strange just admitted it.
Exactly. Doctor Strange literally exists in a reality that is so bonkers and weird that I can't even tell if we're even meant to think that it is in fact happening at all outside of anything other than these people's minds. And it was so visually inventive in how it portrayed that I actually thought it was like that stuff was really cool.
But yeah, those movies, anytime any character might possibly change to the point that it would be unappealing to buy a T-shirt with their logo on it, that gets walked back by the end of the movie. Right. And that was a bleak realization as someone who for a minute there, this was like my escape valve from the world, was just right. But now I still watch them, but I don't relish it to the degree that I did for the first couple of years that all these things were blown up. Yeah. When it felt just like nerd garbage was everywhere and you can just feast on it all that you want. Now it doesn't taste as good.
No.
Unless
you have that goo.
Unless you have that. Oh man, if I had that goo. But we know that's already a superhero origin story. I'm sorry to say.
Oh, it absolutely is. He painstakingly created his
secret of the ooze.
If Important If True somehow could fund a mainstream superhero IP, it would be, yes, robotic pizza parlor inventor / whack-a-mole inventor
genius whack-a-mole
steak flavor injector fuel source. Horrible explosion happened.
And his friends.
Definitely the reason the thing blew up in the first place is because he was injecting way too much goo into his steak and or robots and or self, and overloaded the thing and it exploded. He was thrown clear by the explosion, which is why when the guy came to investigate, they couldn't find out who was responsible. But as he picked himself up off the ground, he realized his resentment for the world and his like steak flavored veins, pumping his new plans and Machiavellian.
He had some
intentions.
dastardly schemes that apparently did not pan out because he's charging $100 to let you record a message with his old pizza robots.
That's true. Yeah. Yep.
So maybe he is one of these daring R-rated Fox movies that don't have to, tie into anything. It's because it's just going to end with the sad story of a pizza guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Pizza menagerie. Nick, what do you endorse?
Nick, what do you got this week?
Anyway, let's close it strong.
Yeah. I'm going to recommend calling your aunt back.
Okay.
So like many people growing up, I had a fairly large extended family, and also like many people in my extended family kind of I would say either fell apart in some sectors of that family or kind of just naturally lost touch, right?
Yeah, sure.
Especially when my grandma passed, it's like, okay, everyone's doing their own thing. We're all in different states, whatever. But recently, like, things have started coming back together, mainly since November, in sort of, with my mom and her side of the family. And my aunt, while I was playing Zelda on a Twitch stream the other day, my aunt just out of the blue, and I haven't really talked to her in years for various reasons. She out of the blue texted me 3 times in a row and then called me.
And was like, wow, sick boss fight.
Yeah, right. And I no, but I assumed because she was like 3 texts and then the call, I'm like, oh, somebody died. Like, all right, I gotta stop this stream. And I pick up the phone and she's just like, I have a computer problem. Can you help me? And I was like, all right, I'm gonna like wait a couple hours. And then I had the moment where it was like, I don't need to return this phone call.
Right.
I generally, I'm not good about calling my extended family or like keeping up with them. Really,
Yeah,
I like them.
Sure.
Some of them, but I'm bad about it. Like a lot of people, I don't feel that guilty, but I feel a little guilty. But I called her back. And we had just like a phenomenal hour-long conversation.
Oh, that's great.
And it reminded me that like, oh yeah, she was one of the good ones, and she kind of like half raised me as a kid. Like I spent tons of time with her. Why aren't we better friends? I should probably call her all the time. I'm not going to, but I would recommend at least returning her call.
Yeah.
And then maybe scheduling something a few months later to run into her.
Did you fix her computer?
Yes.
Okay, good.
What was wrong?
There's just like virus stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, classic issues.
Yeah, man, you're really putting your your real world social networks in order here. You've got your local bar kind of.
That's true. Yeah.
You've got your aunt. You're calling your aunt back.
Right. Well, I'd also recommend Zelda. If you just want to buy something,
sure,
and be a consumer.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a show. Thanks for listening to Important If True. Our website is importantiftrue.com, and from there you can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or any other podcast app you like. If you like this show, please do recommend it to a friend. You can send us email at questions@importantiftrue.com. We're on Twitter at ImportantCast and Facebook at facebook.com/importantiftrue. We will be back next week for more of this garbage. From Idle Thumbs, I am Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Breckett.
I'm Jake Rodkin, and it's not garbage, but it might be.
See you next week. Pigeon bombs and tiger drones feel like they can be rolled into a combined thing.
Pigeon bombs and tiger drones is it's like,
yeah,
I don't know, it's like raindrops on roses.
Like.
Yeah.
What do you fucking what's your fucking deal with this burning?
I'm just telling you what it is.
I don't want to know what it is until we're on it.
We are on one.
They're my favorite things, Chris.
Shut the fuck up.